Digital data is exploding. Billions of devices like smartphones and sensors are capturing humongous amounts of data literally every second. And there are technologies today that can gather them, organize them, analyze them, and give us insights and predictions like never before. And that is our discussion today. And we will do it with particular reference to the manufacturing sector, where some fascinating changes are taking place. So welcome to this edition of Times Techies Friday Plus Plus. I'm Sujit John, and I have with me my colleague Shilpa Fadnis. The two of us will moderate this discussion, which we are doing in association with HPE Enterprise and Redington. We have done a series of sessions with HPE on data and infrastructures to handle data. And today we have with us 4 seasoned professionals. We have with us Kamal Kashyap. Kamal is director for the storage business unit in Hewlett Packard Enterprise India. He's been with us multiple times on this platform. The storage group includes primary storage, all-flash and hybrid storage, collaborative platforms, big data storage, and hyper-converged infrastructure solutions. Kamal joined HPE in 2000 and has since served in various roles in enterprise sales, including as country manager for key accounts and SME. Prior to leading storage, Kamal served as the director for public sector in HPE India. Welcome, Kamal. We have Dr. Ravi Guttal. Ravi is CTO and SVP at Ecus Private Limited. He has an amazing academic record. He did BE from NIT Karnataka, did ME in structural mechanics from IISc Bangalore, did an MS in robotics from Carnegie Mellon University, did PhD in computational mechanics from New York's renowned Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, and a postgraduate diploma in management from the same institute. Ravi worked at John Deere and was director in the Center for Innovation and Product Development at Kelly Technological University in Hubli before joining Ecus. Welcome, Ravi.
Thank you.
Shilpa, you are not audible. Shilpa is not audible, no? Shilpa, there's a problem with your system.
A major electronics manufacturer. He was the managing director.
You're cutting off, Shilpa.
Yeah, Shilpa, you're cutting off.
You'll have to start off. You'll have to start from the beginning.
Shilpa, you'll have to start from the beginning on Mr. Gururaj.
Sorry. We have with us A. Gururaj. Gururaj is the managing director of Optimus Electronics, a major electronics manufacturer. He was the managing director of Wistron India between 2016 and 19, where he was responsible for running an existing factory and setting up a large greenfield facility for manufacture of Apple iPhones in Bengaluru. He has also worked at Reliance Communications, Electronics, TVS Electronics. Today, Gururaj is also an advisor to many state governments to promote the ESDM, electronic system design and manufacturing industry in India. Welcome, Gururaj. And we have with us Jabez Selvan. Jabez is the Senior Vice President of the Enterprise Business Group at Redington, India. Redington is one of the leading distributors of IT products and providers of IT solutions. Jabez is an electrical and electronics engineer. He has been with Redington for more than 17 years. He's passionate about emerging technologies and about sharing his ideas and insights on trends related to storage, computing, cybersecurity, networking. Welcome, Jabez.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Those of you who are doing this can send in questions through the comment section. Sujit and I will put them to Kamal, Ravi, Gururaj, and Jabez. Let me start with you, Kamal. Digital transformation is the buzzword today. At the center of it is data. Give us a sense of how data is being generated and captured and used.
Hey, sure. And once again, it's always a pleasure to be on this platform and discuss with the eminent personalities, the whole position around.
Kamal, you're breaking. Kamal?
Around data. And as you are, yeah.
Kamal, you are also breaking a little bit.
I seem to have full internet. Only way I can improve it is by stopping the video, I guess. Am I audible?
You're audible. There was a break in the audio a little while ago. Isn't that so, Shilpa? Shilpa, your audio is also a problem. Come on, go on.
This is all a part of the digital transformation we are going through.
All that will solve it.
Yes.
Wonderful. Let me get started again. And as I was saying, Sujit, these days, every organization that I talk to is trying to move faster to unlock innovation, get ahead, and ultimately disrupt the status quo. And as Shilpa was saying, data is the fuel that powers better and faster decisions, the kind needed to supercharge any business. But the question that every organization that we speak to is asking is how best to harness data when the data is distributed. She was asking about a couple of statistics around that, and let me just throw out a few numbers out there. As reported by Data Management Research Survey of IT Decision Makers, this was conducted by ESG for HPE. 93% of IT decision makers see storage and data management complexity impeding digital transformation. And 67% of the surveyed organizations see fragmented data visibility across hybrid cloud, creating a huge amount of business risk. Now look at some of the statistics, which is what IDC reported.
Kamal, we lost you again.
That 75 zettabytes. Okay, I have no idea where you lost. So maybe stop the video and just
just try that. Yeah.
Otherwise, seem to have a good amount of Wi-Fi signal. So I don't know where you stopped me, but with the second part of the statistics that I was sharing, which was that according to
Kamal, your audio is also a problem now. I don't know why that's be happening.
Into IDC, 75 zettabytes of data will be created.
Kamal, there is a problem.
Let me check where the issue is because I.
Okay, Kamal. Okay, let me just.
I suggest you go ahead with the next panelist, and I will I'll check where the issue is and come
check
back.
that out. Yeah, that's fine. Ravi and Gururaj, let me just get you in here. I mean, both of you have enormous experience and expertise in the manufacturing sector. Give us. I mean, the other day, Dr. Ravi Guttal was saying. I mean, your previous company, John Deere. I mean, what they call themselves an AI company. What did they say? So enormous amount of use of technologies in those kind of companies today. Ravi, you want to start?
The data is the new oil, like as you all know, and as Kamal mentioned. Now, data has transformed manufacturing, to be very honest. The ERP systems, the manufacturing execution systems, the computer vision-based data for quality management, for safety management of the employees. It has been pervasive in the manufacturing area right now. Without data, the days are gone where I can set up the factory without a computer. But nowadays, a manufacturing unit should be digitally transformed to be a decision-making factory, to be a smart factory. So, but data collection, apart from data collection from these days, most of the machining centers or the molding centers are IoT enabled. So we can collect data, manage the predictive maintenance of the machine, also manage the parameters, process parameters, which affect the quality of the product. So data plus data analytics, AI, ML, automation are all tied up in a digital thread. And that's what makes today's manufacturing a smart manufacturing unit. And we are no different. I'm sure all progressive manufacturing businesses are utilizing data to improve their efficiency, quality, and throughput. We had a recent example where we are assessing the quality of our paint jobs using cameras, and cameras capture data a self-learning algorithm which predicts whether the part or is of the right gloss, right paint thickness, and so on. Training of painters is happening using virtual reality and augmented reality. And all this is again driven by data.
Fascinating. These are paints for your aerospace or toys or
Aerospace.
Aerospace. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. We'll get into more details later. But Mr. Gururaj, tell us. I mean, you set up the Flextronics facility in Sriperumbudur, I think. Compared to that, and then you came to the Wistron one more recently with Apple and stuff. Tell us, what kind of differences did you see from then to now?
You know, John, you're pretty much saying that I've aged when you say then and now. But yeah, it's this massive transformation, right? It's in fact, you know, there is, for those of us who know Kannada, and there is there's a saying that today, and the food in Kannada is called uta, and so there is a saying that data is more important than uta. You can survive without uta for 2 days, but you cannot survive without data for 2 days, right? So that's about as important as data has become, in our lives. But to your question, has there been a massive transformation, as I've seen it? Oh, I mean, no leaps and bounds. I had the opportunity of being the MD of the company where we manufactured one of the earliest feature phones in India. That was the Flex, Sujit, and I'm surprised you know that. And then later, of course, one of the most complex, phones in the world at Wistron. So massive transformation. Now I'm with one of, I had a company called Optimus Electronics, which is in collaboration with Wistron again. It's partnered with Wistron. And just to give you an example, at Optimus Electronics, and I won't go at Wistron itself, I know there is a lot of robotic and other things that are happening. So I wouldn't like to talk about them. But in our company at Optimus Electronics, where we are partnered with Wistron, we are leaders at this point of time, in hearables and wearables. And then also we are getting, because of the PLI scheme, we are getting into laptops, and you will see us getting into mobile phones, and so that's a step we are taking one by one. Telecom products, these are all sectors we have won the PLI. And just to give you a practical example, and I would want to come back to some general data later, but in our factory today, for example, the manufacturing of smart watches is a completely automated line. There are no operators. And if we had hired operators for that, we probably would have needed about 230. So the question is, there's always this debate, right? Does automation kill jobs and all that? But the same 200 people are upskilled to do more technical work, right? I mean, the same 200 people are doing much more smarter work, much more, upscaling has happened, and they're doing that work. But actually on the line, there is no operator. It's completely, automated. The other area which we are introducing in this company is material management, and it's called automated guided vehicles, right? So you don't have, people have to shift. We remember this forklifts, and and the poor guy is having to lift in the, say the summer of Chennai and humidity, and people lifting. All that is now we have in our factory in Delhi at 44 degrees. Nobody is lifting that weight. It's an automatic guided vehicle, and and it's remote controlled, and the material is moved. There is a forklift that lifts it, material from the storage, and puts it on the forklift. It takes it. It's all guided. There are no people involved. That's the second example. And just to give you a third example before we move on, and I'll come back, to a second round of this one, is that packaging, the box packaging, right? I mean, of the products, so the smart watches, all the smart hearables and wearables device, there are no operators involved. It's all done through an automated system. So I think even in a company like Optimus Wistron, we've already implemented a lot of the latest technology, Industry 4.0, and getting smarter, Industry 4.0 day by day by day.
And this
So
automation is based on a lot of data. Is that how?
it's all based on data. It's all based on data.
Hmm.
So all this, unless there is, everything is data in between, right? So Industry 4.0 is all about data, IoT, and so on. So it's everything fundamentally is about data.
Okay. We'll come back to more of that. Kamal, you want to finish what you were saying?
Okay, I think while I was trying to get back in, Dr. Ravi and Mr. Gururaj made my points for me, because I think what they talked about was awesome, right? The whole fact is that the innovation in manufacturing technologies are based on this automation, which fundamentally is thriving on the data, right? And they kind of actually what they were talking about, that they're leveraging data across the spectrum of their operations. Right from, from a QA perspective, as Dr. Ravi was talking about, where, an AI engine is checking the quality of the paint, passing it through or pointing out flaws and errors for rectification, or using AI/ML for training purposes, as he was talking about, or what Gururaj ji was talking about in terms of the whole automation, and how that automation is allowing people to kind of upskill from what otherwise they would have done. And this, if you recall, Sujit, has been the mainstay of what HPE has been trying to do from a data management perspective. So we're also wanting to shift or help customers shift from this fragmented storage management to actually going to manage data. And that actually leverages a whole lot of our AI capabilities, right? And we talked about this data services cloud console, which is a layer that sits on top and ensures, and with a whole lot of AI tools built in, which ensures that your administrators can now get away from the regular operational tasks. They actually have the cloud operational experience from a data management perspective for their on-prem infrastructure, on-prem storage infrastructure. They can do it in a couple of clicks, what otherwise would have taken them hours or weeks to do. They can actually now be able to harness the power of this data across this, what used to be the silos infrastructure. So that's the stuff that we're trying to bring to the customers on-prem infrastructure, which is to get the cloud operational experience, to bring this whole ease of use and management, and all this on top of the storage infrastructure, which is, of course, you're getting advantages from NVMe, from Moore's law, and so on and so forth. So I think they made my point, and I will obviously come back again and try and kind of emphasize again on that. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, Shilpa, is it? Okay, let me just ask, interesting points that I wanted to ask Dr. Ravi and Mr. Gururaj, but before that, Jabez, let me just ask you this question. You work with a lot of customers. Give us an idea. How do you help them use data to improve their operations?
Okay, thank you. See, we follow this adage, in God we trust, but everybody else comes in with data. And Gururaj was talking about UTA and data, and that's all because of the VUCA that we have been having all this time. Okay, so Redington largely works with customers, more with the channel partners who are our customers. In the traditional way, we were just doing the distribution, but what we currently do is, we use our data to go and present to our customers what's happening in the marketplace. So if it is an OEM, we tell them about using data, what's happening in the other side of the country or the other side of the state, which they don't have access to. So even to our channel partners, we use data to present to them certain things that will help them grow their businesses. So we have embarked on a journey where we are, for example, if a customer is looking at a 20% growth, we go and tell them, giving data, that here is a chance for you to do not just 20% growth, you can do 50% growth in a single year, and everything is simply driven by data. And see, it is also more to do with the data-driven culture. Today, if a company wants to deliver their mission statement or their values or their visions, it is all driven by data. If they have to deliver their mission statement, data directly drives the whole thing. And one of the most important things that we help organizations do is to see how data can help increase their business, increase their play in the marketplace, and not just get restricted to a very smaller circle.
Are they getting convinced?
Yes, certainly, because finally, as I said, in God we trust, but everybody else brings data. So we bring in data. Some of the MSME data pointers that we have seen in the last few years is in the last 2 years, MSME has grown by over 30%. There were about 4.5 crore MSMEs before COVID, but now there are about 6 crore MSMEs that have come up in the last 2 years. There's a 30% growth. So that's a huge data point. Another data point that we have seen in the MSME sectors is that more than 60% of them are actually longing for data or AI. They want to invest in AI. They want to invest in other analytics tools. There is a good 34% chunk of MSMEs who are not able to get to a global scale. They manufacture great products, but they are not able to get into a global scale. And we go and help them enable with technology to see how they can grow into a global scale. So what data is actually finally doing is, earlier people used to talk about a 5% growth or a 10% growth. Today we are talking about 2x and 3x is the kind of growth that we show our customers.
Okay. I wanted to ask Dr. Ravi and Mr. Gururaj, based on what Kamal was talking about, the kind of IT infrastructures that you need to handle data. Give us an idea, what kind of IT infrastructures do you use? How much of public cloud, private cloud, etc. do you use? Dr. Ravi, you want to start?
Sure. Most of the data is on the edge for us.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because we are dealing with sensitive aerospace data, we don't put it out on the cloud.
So where are these devices?
They are within our campus, within our SEZ.
Uh-huh.
So we have a dedicated IT infrastructure team which manages all our servers. So.
Okay. The edge devices are things like the cameras that you mentioned, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the server side, we have our own server farm here on the campus.
Inside the Belgaum campus?
Yeah.
Okay. Which you manage yourself?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So Gururaj, how do you manage everything?
So we, our MES system is something that is taken from Wistron, and so we've because we are partnered with Wistron, and most of the data is on cloud, and cloud servers. And in fact, the irony is that Wistron itself is a very big designer of cloud servers, for the benefit of those who may not know. So cloud servers are designed at Wistron itself. So a lot of our data, to your question, is on cloud, and the areas in which the data generation happens is we have smart machines, right? For example, legacy retrofitting, right? Where necessary, it's done by automated systems. But one of the biggest benefits that practically we are seeing is traceability, right? I mean, if your mobile phone gets it's returned back with some defect or something like that and comes back to the factory shop. Earlier you opened it up when it took a time and you gave a swap unit to the customers. Now the swap unit that comes back doesn't go through a whole lot of process of opening it, reopening it, because you have to decide whether it's a design defect or a manufacturing defect. All this is happening automatically, on an automated system. So traceability to find out where exactly an error happened on a online shop floor is one of the biggest benefits of so that reduces your waste. It increases your productivity. It increases what is called the first pass yield. Whenever we put a new batch in, you see how many percent have failed and how many percent have passed, right? The line. And where earlier the first pass yields used to be something like 93, 94%, that has now come up to about 97, 98%. So your efficiency and wastage reduces considerably.
Okay. Kamal, you wanted to ask them anything on the infrastructures that they use or any technologies that?
No, I just wanted to kind of add here, Sujit, that what Dr. Ravi was saying and what Mr. Gururaj was saying, same thing. For a whole lot of organizations, especially on the manufacturing side, we're seeing a significant increase, and not just manufacturing, whether it's finance or insurance or any other sector, increase in the data at the edge, right? And the edge could be their for a car company and the automotive itself, which is generating tons of telemetry data as the car moves. And it could be a dealership location where customers are interacting with the organization or their website and so on and so forth, or the manufacturing or the QA test kind of positions, as Dr. Ravi was saying. Now, some organizations, would have the position where the data will need to be on-prem within the secure environment of the organization because of regulatory compliance, business risk kind of reasons. And of course, some of the data could obviously always go on the cloud because, as Mr. Gururaj was saying, it just is better managed out of the cloud. And what at HPE we're trying to do is to kind of find the best of both worlds, which is because why do you want to go to cloud is because you find it a lot, you have an economic model, which is, let's say, a kind of pay-per-use. You can break it into monthly, quarterly kind of, consumption mechanism, but also an operational model where a whole lot of IT operations are simplified, right? You could, in technical language, you could assign a LUN or a volume in 2 clicks rather than, a time that otherwise it takes for an administrator to understand the stuff and actually do it. So we are seeing these two parts, which is the whole economic model and the operational model. So what we said is that what if you bring this cloud operational model to the on-prem environment? So where you have the security, you have a cost control, you have the SLA design of the way you want. You also have the compliance and business and other parameters ticked off if it is on-prem and you're sure about that. But you have the cloud operational experience, and hence you achieve the best of both worlds. And your admins, your team is kind of free to kind of spend time away from the operational task into more value-added task, and you're able to get things like 100% availability guarantee if you're going with HPE Electra and stuff like that. And you could span this across the edge infrastructure Dr. Ravi was talking about, the core, which can be the transactional engine, ERPs and stuff like that, or something that you have on clouds, because your data streams from an application flow perspective or a process flow perspective are going to span across all these 3 parameters. So hence the ability to do that is actually amazing, and that's what we call our unified data ops vision. And the execution of that is the whole data services cloud console, our Electro range of products, and so on and so forth. So that's what I wanted to leave with.
Okay.
Can I just add to what Kamal was saying?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think in India, 84% of the companies want to move into a hybrid environment. So it can be a cloud, it can be both on-prem as well as a service. And close to 58% of them are planning to go hybrid in the next 3 years. One of the key things that companies now should, manufacturing companies or all companies should be investing is going cloud native. So Gartner says that by 2025, 95% of the companies or the foundations for the companies will be on a cloud native platform. So So that is a huge transformation that we are talking about, which is an impending transformation. And Dr. Ravi spoke about on the edge. Today, post-COVID, we are always talking about virtual first and remote first. Employees are working from home. Customers are not going to the physical stores, but business is happening. So all this is being enabled because of a completely edge-based, cloud-based, data-driven culture that is come into all these companies. So that is, I couldn't agree more with both Kamal and Dr. Ravi that edge is going to be the big disruptor in the next 2-3 years. And with 5G, today it was announced that 5G should be rolled out in the next 4 or 5 months. That should again play a big role in edge. Edge is going to be the big explosion for all the companies. So every company should be wary of this and watch out for investments in around the edge area.
Okay, just to clarify, I mean, you said cloud native platforms, building that for MSMEs and all that, is that tough?
See, anybody who's going to be a cloud user or catering to a cloud customer, they need to be having some kind of cloud migrations that they have to really work on. Otherwise, having the traditional architecture is passé.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Sujit, I think we talked about this in some previous forums as well, and that's what I was saying when I was looking at the economic side of it. And I think Javis brought up this point. The minute you want to go to cloud native, and you want to also look at the economic model there, and that's where our GreenLake proposition comes in, which allows customers to consume everything as a service. So it doesn't matter whether you're a very small and medium enterprise, just kind of embarking on a cloud native journey, and you want to create your own on-prem or a shared or a colo kind of environment for your captive infrastructure, or you are a very large organization who has a whole lot of infrastructure created, customized for themselves, right? In any of these scenarios, you could look at GreenLake as a service, which could bring in not just the cloud operational experience, but the economics of that with your comfort of your, secure, in control, SLA driven infrastructure.
Yeah.
In the old ways where people used to consume infrastructure, they always used to buy much more than what they require, or they would buy very less. So GreenLake allows customers to right scale their requirement, and it also gives the opportunity for people to scale instantly. So suddenly I see a surge in my incoming data. I immediately can increase the capacity, and I waste no time in that. So one is, I do it from a capex to an opex experience. And I'm always right scaled in my requirements. So I don't actually pay forward for what I'm going to use maybe 2 years or 3 years from now. That's a huge problem that customers face, and GreenLake is a great solution.
So Sujit, can I just add? Sorry,
Mr. Gurraj was saying something.
Yeah. Can I just add to a couple of points that were made, by my colleagues the last few minutes? You talked about the MSMEs, right? I have been, besides the large corporations, Flex and Wistron, I have been on the boards of a number of Indian MSMEs, and you would be surprised to see the level of automation in those MSMEs.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm just quoting some statistics from NASSCOM, and it says that the Indian manufacturing started pivoting to digitization, and the total spend on Industry 4.0 in 2021 was close to about $6 billion overall in the Indian industry. And the second very interesting statistics from the NASSCOM report is that about 50% of the tech spend by Indian manufacturers on Industry 4.0 is roughly about 50% of the total tech spend, in the country. And the other interesting statistics is that, as India is talking about a $1 trillion manufacturing economy, right, in our drive towards a 5 trillion goal, it's estimated that there'll be about a 25% reduction in timelines from proof of concept to adoption to ROI. So, the MSMEs, you would be surprised. Sometime maybe I can take you to the factory. Sometimes you'll find that they have adopted Industry 4.0, which is all about data, right? Much quicker than what we think.
Give some example, Mr. Gururaj. What kind of technologies have they used?
So I think coming to that point, for example, let's say quality assurance and inspection, which normally sees, if you have physical manpower, right, and you do quality assurance, and depending on the efficiency of the person or all that stuff, the quality assurance is now automated, and that is done automated. The second is the conveyor-driven assembly line. It's all automated now. I mean, the parts are put, and I can show you this in a number of MSMEs in Bangalore, right? Leave alone the large corporations, right? And the paint, I think, was mentioned earlier by one of the gentlemen. And the other thing is warehouse optimization, right? I mean, that also was mentioned in some indirect way earlier. So even in an MSME today, my own experience as a board member of these companies is roughly, if you're spending CapEx X, roughly you're spending about 15% to 20% of your CapEx in a year on creating Industry 4.0, even in MSMEs.
Very interesting.
Because it's giving you the results, right? Quicker ROI.
Okay, very interesting. Shilpa, your audio still has a problem. No, Shilpa. Can't hear you. Now I think there is some, yeah. Now there is, no, again, no. Shilpa, you have to get your audio thing rectified.
Jabez, coming to you, how important is data-driven approach when organizations are working towards a data-first approach? Can you talk about the data culture that some of the newer organizations are embracing?
Who is that question for?
Okay.
The Jabez, I think.
Okay, so the value of data has never been more clear. But the problem is data often remains siloed within applications where it is not being used effectively as much as possible. So what the latest technologies that we sell is, helps organizations create a data fabric that integrates data across platforms and uses, making data available wherever that is required. And one of the key things here is we help the technologies that we sell helps consumers end users to prepare a metadata where from the metadata, anybody can allied people who are using that particular data can make deductions, can make analysis, can make certain predictions about their own areas and use data very effectively. So, so creating this data fabric as we move forward, and that is probably the kind of priority that we help organizations to drive, and then once they identify what the data fabric should be, we help them analyze the metadata around the whole data lake that they have created. And then what customers do is they analyze the drift between what the actual data shows and what the model data shows, and that's where the customers will zero in on the areas that may need to work.
Dr. Ravi, I wanted to ask you, what are the newer areas that you are now looking at to use data and technologies to better analyze, make predictions and things?
Sujit, what happens in a manufacturing setup, typically in a mechanical manufacturing industry, is that our machines are programmed to do machining or molding as some parameters over a period of time will change, which will result in a bad product. And when you are manufacturing thousands of toys in an hour, some parameter which goes haywire in the molding machine will create a lot of bad products. So what we would like to do is capture the data from our molding machines or the machining centers and try to predict where and when, how the problem arises in the product quality itself. So this is how we try to utilize it, apart from what I mentioned earlier regarding quality assurance and warehouse management also we are using that.
So you are building all these algorithms and all yourself, is it, internally?
There are off-the-shelf tools, basically machine learning, neural network tools, which can do this for us.
Okay, okay. And these AR/VR training techniques and all that you mentioned, those how effective are they?
We are getting that from a startup actually in IIT Madras. So
it's working well.
Yeah, they have started a pilot project. We'll wait and see.
Okay, okay. So Kamal, what about cyber security? I mean, that's a big issue that everybody today talks about. I mean, when you use all of these technologies, there are equally concerns around protection and all of that. How does one deal with that, and what's your advice to companies?
Yeah, so I think as we covered over the past 45 minutes or so, the criticality of data, not just from an organizational, business perspective, but also in terms of driving efficiency, in driving customer satisfaction, in driving process improvements, as Dr. Ravi was just talking about. So that part is really critical. On top of that, while all of us know that banking and insurance and some of those industries were highly regulated in terms of how they handle data, how they actually protected the customer data and stuff like that. But slowly with the whole data laws being, coming in a much more streamlined, structured, and stringent fashion across the globe, and specifically for our country as well, we will see a whole lot of regulatory positions coming in from that perspective, right? Specifically for industries who handle PII data or who handle other financial or consumer kind of data and stuff like that. And in that scenario, both from a regulatory perspective as well as from your own business's perspective, it'll be very important to see how you are actually protecting this data. And you had classical models which were 3-to-1, which you said, so for one production copy, you should have 2 this copy, 3 that copy, and so on and so forth. But a whole lot of it is getting kind of, refreshed in the current scenario, because besides all these things, you also have a threat environment. You have a threat environment of human error. You have a threat environment of things like ransomware, for example, right? So, and earlier we thought that we as a country were kind of not in the radar of these hackers, but it seems what you see in the newspaper every week or every other week, these incidents are going up, right? And hence the need for every organization to look at their own data protection policies and data protection infrastructure is gone up. And especially when what Dr. Ravi or Mr. Gururaj was talking about, when you have data on the edge, you have in the core system, and some of it you have in the cloud, because you have to protect it all across, and you have to have the ability to have a consistent and coherent stream of data across these three so to speak structures, and be able to recover irrespective of what kind of disaster strikes you. We have a solution called Zerto. It does something called continuous data protection. So fundamentally, unlike earlier times when you had to go back to your last backup copy, which could have been a few hours or few days back, this gives you an ability to go back to as close as maybe 5 or 10 seconds, right? Depending on the stuff that you put. Your different data will have different level of criticality, so you wouldn't want to put everything on the same level of SLA. But the minute you do that, you have the ability to fend off any kind of disaster, whether it's a natural technology or otherwise, or it is a something coming out of malice like a ransomware attack. Because if there is an attack at 4:20, which is the time now, you can actually go back to 1955 and say, hey, here's my data which was kind of validated at that point in time. So that gives you great ability to kind of fend across all this, any kind of virtualized environment, any cloud to any cloud, any on-prem to any virtualized on-prem environment to any kind of cloud. So that allows you to actually maintain a whole lot of consistency and take your data protection to the next level.
Okay. Shilpa?
Help us understand how the traditional manufacturing floor has evolved. How are you reskilling your talent for the digital manufacturing and industry 4.0?
Mr. Gururaj, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So I think upscaling, right? That's what the whole country is talking about. The Prime Minister has been talking about. Now, for example, an operator today, right? Who probably had little or no knowledge of how to deal with smart machines, right? We are there is what is called the sector skill councils. I don't know if you're aware of the Telecom Sector Skill Council and the Electronic Sector Skill Council under Skill India, and I think they are doing a very good job of and then these are government organizations, I would say under the national NSDC, and I think they are doing a very good role of upskilling people, and we take their help in upskilling them in various activities. To an earlier point, so it is not that people are losing jobs. Like I said earlier, people are getting upskilled. And to your question, we are taking the help of some private agencies and also NSDC to create this upskilling, Shilpa, to answer your point.
Dr. Ravi, any issues around talent that you face?
Last 6 months, there is a sudden growth in the job market. So we are seeing some talent issues, but we have set up our own training centers within the SEZ campus in Belgaum, as well as upcoming toys cluster in Koppal. So we are constantly training anywhere from 100 to 500 people all the time. So our training centers are helping us to manage the upskilling as well as attrition.
Okay.
Sujit, can I make just one point with your permission?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if many people realize this. That's why I wanted to make this point in a forum like this. Our MSMEs, electronics MSMEs, manufacture products that go on Mangalyaan, Gaganyaan. I know companies that go on the particle accelerator and BrahMos missile. So we talk so much of the large organizations some of those products, Sujit, are a lot more complex than any mobile phone or any electronic product.
Really?
So oh yeah.
I thought we were not supposed to be very good in hardware and all that.
Well, that's the myth. I think you're the media. You will have to highlight that a little more. That's why I said, come to Bangalore. I'll take you to these factories, right? So that you can spread the message across the country and the world. Is the complexity of the work done at MSMEs is in what I have seen. But they are small. They don't get highlighted, right? The success stories are not highlighted, which is what I have been airing in multiple forums of the success and the complexity of the work that MSMEs are doing. But now, thanks to Atmanirbhar Bharat, I think they're getting their, and more on defense, which is a top priority right now, defense electronics. It's the MSMEs are playing a much bigger role. And I want to mention one final thing, not take too much of everybody's time. In the last 6 months, and I think one of the gentlemen said it, in the last 6 months to 1 year, many of these companies have seen more growth than they have seen in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jabez was saying that, I think.
Yeah, so So, and these are all very complex products. And so the why I'm stressing on MSMEs and skill, which Shilpa brought up, is we have to support MSMEs with skilled people. I think that's the key. And more I see in the context of Atmanirbhar Bharat and especially defense, our MSMEs are getting a lot of work. And
where are these founders coming from? Where are these founders coming from of these MSMEs? What kind of backgrounds?
From, some of them are, say, an ex-Motorola, or some of them is, have been in the EMS industry for the last 20 years. Some of them have, been on, what will surprise you, there is one very good EMS company in Mysore, and 20 years back, he set up an EMS, and before that, he was a garment manufacturer. So, but 20 years now, he's been an electronics manufacturer. So the founders have had the passion more than anything else, I think, to withstand the ups and downs of, what the MSMEs have gone through in this country. But now they are reaping the benefits.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Just want to ask, just to get back to the point that Kamal made about security and protection, Jabez and Dr. Ravi and Jabez, do you see companies becoming serious about security?
Yes, Sujit. There's a whole lot of data that is available. Earlier, we just used to go to office and we just used to work on the computers, and the attack used to happen probably on the servers or on the computers within the office network. But today, everything is an endpoint. So today, attacks can happen through a printer. Attacks can happen through any IoT devices across manufacturing units. And every device that has electronics and that is connected is a potential threat to be attacked by malware. Cyber insurance, though it has grown, it has got a hockey stick growth, still the ratios are still very poor, because, and that really shows that the kind of claims that are being made on cyber attacks and the ransomware is increasing. And we help a lot of customers do a dark web monitoring using various tools. We help customers monitor all their endpoints, even IoTs. So those are very serious areas where customers should be looking at, because many times we think that a printer cannot be attacked, but the malware, the hacker can attack a company even through a printer or any IoT device, even through the cameras that are there in the office, on the campuses. So security is a huge threat, and this is something that is probably understated, because many companies don't really come out with what the attack has been or what has happened, because everybody would like to keep it as wraps. But it is very important for organizations to invest in security, and we actually help organizations in their endeavor.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about cameras being very vulnerable and all that. Dr. Ravi, what kind of measures do you take?
I'm not an expert in cybersecurity, so my opinion may not be the right one.
I'll probably give another example. In 1970s, just 5% of the car used to be electronics, and in about 5 years' time, more than 50% of the car is going to be electronics. And imagine a malware happening on a car.
Exactly.
And hell will break loose in such things. So security is going to be a huge point of discussion day in, day out by organizations.
Okay. Mr. Gururaj, do you want to anything on security that you want to add?
I'm not allowed to speak about specific customers by thing, but all I can tell you is, and I think you can refer to, you understand the customer I'm talking about, and then some of those devices are about as secure as security can be, right? And many of us use those devices. So I think the necessary checks and balances by some of the large organizations have been put in place with a lot of effort. And so far, luckily, nothing. There have been no mishaps. But yeah, I mean, it is something that to watch out for. Except, and I wouldn't say concern, but my point is that I talked about a lot of the Indian MSMEs who do a lot of defense-related work, right, which is very sensitive. I think they are beginning to wake up and find that the security is a lot more bigger issue than what they thought 3 years ago. And I think the necessary, and I can't name a country through which it's not appropriate in an open forum, but there is a particular country strong on defense, who's a defense partner of India, who's helping these companies create that security.
Okay. And I know we are almost out of time. One last question to you, Dr. Ravi. You are setting up a whole lot of new facilities for consumer durables, for toys, of course, another huge one coming up in Kopal. So when you start off these huge facilities, it starts off with a lot of technologies already built in, is it? These newer factories?
Yeah, we have a dedicated IT infrastructure team which goes to every site and builds the infrastructure for IT-enabled manufacturing. So, and we have our own physical infrastructure as well as IT infrastructure team.
So it must be a big IT infra that you have, all the servers and all that. You have it all internally?
Yeah, we have it internally. We also work with few partners. I probably cannot name them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kamal, any final words?
I think very, very interesting discussion on what Dr. Ravi and Mr. Raj talked about from their actual experience on the shop floor, and otherwise the manufacturing ecosystem was very, very enlightening because traditionally all of us kind of try and figure out how manufacturing is leveraging some of these technologies. And what these gentlemen talked about is the fact that manufacturing, and especially this whole 4.0 framework, is actually so much based on technology and leveraging the data from total transformation perspective. And this whole digital transformation is fueling the manufacturing transformation in terms of processes, in terms of the quality of the output, the quality of the processes, the quality of the life of the people who are working in manufacturing, and end of the day, the products which land up in our hands as consumers. So I think really awesome, and what they shared in terms of what's happening and how they're leveraging data to actually achieve that is wonderful.
How much of your business comes from manufacturing? Is that
significant amount? I think almost like 30% would be 30% plus would be coming in from manufacturing, because that's as some of the people are talking about. You have traditionally very, very large manufacturing setups in house. We are a manufacturing powerhouse for a lot of industries. A lot of automotive industries are seeing export out of India, and hence the ancillary units are also scaled up to that extent, and they're big customers for us. MSMEs, and as they kind of get into more and more precision manufacturing, as Mr. Gururaj was talking about, in industries which require a lot more precision manufacturing outputs, the amount of technology that they use and the amount of digital transformation that they need to invest in is kind of actually scaling up big time. And the whole just in time and all that kind of frameworks have also kept them on the foot, because the production planning and everything else has to be electronically tied up. A large manufacturer has an electronic visibility into their supplier as well as into their customer, and the whole chain is kind of streamlined that way. So that's a significant part of our business for sure.
Great. So thanks so much. Great discussion. Thanks, Kamal, Jabez, for the kind of, you described some of those technologies so well. Amazing technologies emerging. Dr. Ravi and Mr. Gururaj, fantastic examples of the kind of work that's happening on the shop floor today, especially the MSME story that came as news to me as well. I know we need to, as media, do a better job of telling people the kind of things that are happening in the MSME sector. So that's something for us to do as media. So thanks a lot, Kamal, Jabez, Dr. Ravi, Mr. Gururaj. Really nice having you on this platform from Shilpa and me. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.